prayer. This will be on page 158 of Universal Prayers. Top of that page, first one. This prayer is from Vishwasara Tantra, prayer to the Divine Mother. अनाथस्य दीनस्य तृष्णातुरस्य भयार्तस्य भीतस्य वृद्बद्धस्य जन्तोः त्वमेका गतिर्देवि निस्तारदात्री नमस्ते जगत्तारिणि त्राहि दुर्गे ओम शांति शांति शांति. O Divine Mother, the remover of the miseries of the devotees, you are the savior of the poor and the helpless. You are the protector of those oppressed by desire and stricken with fear. You are the refuge of the afflicted and the bound. You are, O Mother, the goal and the giver of emancipation. You are the savior of the universe. Please protect us all. To thee I bow down. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Devika Shanti. In the last, in these three slokas, 24, 25, 26, Bhagavan Sri Krishna explains who can reach God. Reaching God means it's not as if reaching some other place. Our true nature is divine. God is within us, always been. That is always the truth. But realizing, experiencing the God's presence within us and knowing our identity with Him. That is one way of putting the goal of human life. The other way, which Sri Ramakrishna preferred, was to have pure devotion to God, not to become one with the divine, which is Jnani's preference. Aham Brahmasmi. Many people don't like it. Many people prefer to keep a separation between me and God. I am God's child, I am God's devotee, I am God's servant, dasa. Like this, keeping a separation and having pure love for God, pure devotion. That is considered higher than liberation, higher than moksha. So who can achieve that goal? What qualities are required to achieve that goal? Those are described in the verses 24, 25, 26. 24, 25 we did. I will quickly chant and read the translation. Then you go to 26. Yontas sukhontaramastathantarjyotirevayaha sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati. Antaskaha, who gets joy from within, not from outside objects and relationships. Antaskha means what? Who gets joy from within. Sachidananda is self within. Antasukha, sporting within. Antararamaha, not sporting in the outside world, not looking for enjoyment here and there, entertainment. Finding all joy within the self. Antararamaha tatha antarjyotihi. And whose light of knowledge, light of realization is within. Sayogi, such a yogi, becomes one with Brahman. Brahma bhuto adhigacchati, and wins the peace of Brahman. Brahma nirvanam adhigacchati. Brahma nirvana means supreme peace. that comes by becoming one with the divine. That nothing, that kind of peace can never be obtained in the world at all. So that is the requirement. We should try to find joy within, not look for happiness outside in property, possessions, enjoyment, family, children. They give a little bit pleasure every now and then, but that's not really lasting. As you saw in 522, they have beginning and an end and are highly conditional. So verse number 25. Labhante brahma nirvanam rishaya kshina kalmashaha chinnadvaidayatatmanah sarvabhuta hite rataha. The seers, sages, win the peace of Brahman, Brahma Nirvanam. Their sins attenuated, making themselves free from all sins by practicing spiritual disciplines. Sins means the effect of past actions, all the unhelpful, bad impressions that we have accumulated, those have to be cleaned up by replacing them with good thoughts, repeating God's name and studying God's, singing and chanting God's names and glories, holy company. These are all the things familiar to you. They will clean up the old bad samskaras. Their sins attenuated, doubts cut through. Chinnadvaidha. There should be no doubt about the words of the scriptures, Upanishads, and the teachings of great teachers like Sri Ramakrishna. We should not doubt them because they spoke from experience. Those sages they were not philosophers who studied books and gave lectures. Whatever they spoke came from their experience, from their heart. So they spoke the truth. Doubts cut through, their inner sense controlled. Inner sense means the mind controlled. They are busy promoting the welfare of all other beings. Sarvabhuta hite rata, that's a new thing. It will come again in the 11th chapter, later chapters too. A true spiritual seeker should care about everybody else. A person should not say, I should be happy and take care of myself. No. When we pray for everybody. If somebody else is unhappy, I cannot be happy also. Because we are all connected. We are more intimately connected than we experience or than we think. So in a family or workplace or in a society, if somebody is suffering, then that affects us too. We cannot be happy. So we all be happy. Sarve bhavanta sukhina, that prayer we say at the end of every class. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. All beings must be happy and well. That is our prayer. Then we go to verse number 26. Kama krodha viyuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. On both sides, the peace of Brahman is there for the self-restrained ascetics who are released from lust and wrath and have known the self. Two conditions are mentioned here. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam. Kama and Krodha, these are the two great enemies. That came in the second chapter, it will come again also later. In the second chapter, describing the qualities of Chitta Prajna, one who controls lust and anger. Third chapter also it came. We will go back to that later. So we have to control lust and anger. Those are the two great things. And greed also will be added in the 16th chapter. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam. Our main sadhana must be to control our mind, make it free from unhelpful adharmic desires. Dharmic desires are okay. You can keep them. Adharmic desires and anger, krodha. Yatachetasam means constantly striving to make spiritual progress. If we become a little bit say lazy, it won't work. You have to be diligent. Every day we have to do spiritual practice, whatever schedule we have drawn up for ourselves, we have to maintain that one every day. Yata cheta, so mind must be controlled. Abhito means both sides. For such people, both sides means in this life, when you're alive in this body, functioning in the body, and after the body stops functioning in the afterlife. Before and after death. Abhito means on both sides. Abhito Brahmanirvanam vartate. They will achieve liberation. They will achieve liberation while still living in the body. We don't have to wait until death comes for liberation. While still living in the body, we can become Jivan Muktas. Such a person is called a Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means a person who is achieving liberation, experiencing liberation while still living in the body. That is our goal, Jivan Mukti. Abhito Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Viditatmanam. Those have known this also. Okay, then we go to the next two slokas. How to practice. Some practical hints are given in 27-28. A few hints, not complete instruction. A few hints that you can follow to practice our concentration, meditation, japa, even for japa also. I'll read them together, 27-28. Sparshan kritva bahirbahyaan चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनो बुद्धिर्मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः युगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः यः सदा मुक्त एव सः. Some practical hints. Some of them we don't have to take literally. I'll explain. I'll read the translation. Keeping out external context, fixing the eye between the eyebrows, and equalizing the in-breath and out-breath that move within the nostrils, controlling the senses, mind and intellect, and free from desire, fear, and anger. The silent sage, intent on liberation, is eternally emancipated indeed. So some things we have to do. Bahir sparshan, bahyan sparshan bahir kritva. Bahya sparsha means outside sense objects. For example, food, dress, clothing, entertainment, pleasure, all these things are outside sense objects where generally people seek happiness. We know they don't give happiness, very temporary. That we saw in 522, Arjantavanta. Keeping them outside, Bahikritva. When meditation time, we should not bring all those thoughts into the mind, at least during meditation time. At all times, but especially during japa meditation time, we should not think about any outside object. If any outside thought comes, we should replace it by God's thought. That will, how to do that will come in the next chapter, 6th chapter. Keeping all sense objects outside the mind, not letting them come inside. Bahir chakshushchaiva antare bhruvaho. Keeping the eye, fixing the eye between eyebrows. It's not to be taken literally. It won't work. If you try to fix the mind, two eyes between the eyebrows like this, in 5 seconds it will start to hurt. That's not what is meant. Not looking at any particular object. Simply looking at the picture of the Ishta Devata, chosen ideal, or closing the eyes, visualizing the divine person, divine, your chosen ideal, but not looking at any sense object. If you look at any object, that thought will come. Supposing you are sitting in meditation room, somebody comes, and we should not turn to see who came. Then we will start thinking about that person. So we should not look at any object. Only thing we should look at is the photo, picture, or the image of the Ishtadevata in front of you, or you can close the eyes. So that is what it meant. Pranapanam samam kritva nasabhyantara charino. Nasabhyantara means in the nostrils, not speaking, breathing through the nostrils. Prana means incoming breath, apana means outgoing breath. There must be samam kritva, equal duration. There are other methods of pranayama. Some formulas are there, 4, 8, 16, something like that. Different formulas are there, but those are not necessary. They have to be done with some proper training under guidance, but simply equalizing, slowly breathing in, slowly breathing out. Not paying much attention to pranayama, all those things. It's not necessary. If you like, you can do it. But here it is not the main thing. Breathing evenly through the nose. That's all we have to note. Nasabhyantara charinau yatendriya mano buddhihi. Indriya mana buddhi. 3 things you have to control. Indriya means all the 10 sense organs. Manas means mind, which is also 11 sense organ. Buddhi means intellect. These 3 things you have to always keep under control. We should not let them go here and there, think about whatever they want to think. So that is common practice. It will come all the time. Yatendriya mano buddhihi, controlling sense organs, mind and intellect. Munihi moksha parayanaha. Muni means one who practices silence. Mananashilaha Muni. Muni means one who practices maunam. Maunam means silence. Silence means not simply speaking. Not simply not speaking. That is not enough. Without speaking, we can make a lot of conversation in our minds. Self-talk. We can think about so many things. So silence means mentally remaining calm. Mentally not allowing any unwanted thought to come to the mind. That is true silence. Munihi moksha parayanaha. One who is intent on moksha. What is the goal of life? Liberation, knowing God, pure devotion to God, self-knowledge, whichever is your preference. These are all different ways of expressing the goal of life. For some it is Atmajnana, self-knowledge. Aham Brahmasmi. For many it is pure devotion. Sri Ramakrishna said, we want pure devotion to God. Pure devotion means Shuddha Bhakti, Prema Bhakti, without seeking anything from God, pure love, worshipping God only because of love, not asking for this and that, surrendering to the will of God. Like a mother loves the child, we should love God. He gives 3 examples in the gospel. Like a miser loves his wealth, like a mother loves her child, and a young man loves his young wife. These 3 things, combine all these things and direct them towards God, he said. Strong, pure devotion, only God. I don't want anything else in this world. I want only Him. That desire, pure devotion. Moksha, that is moksha parayana. Moksha means liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Parayana means one who is intent on that one. I really want that goal. That strong intention must be there. Then 2 more qualities are there. Vigata ichha bhaya krodha. 3 qualities. Vigata ichha bhaya krodha. It came before these 3 things. Ichha means desire. Bhaya means fear. Krodha means anger. These come again and again. These are common disciplines you all have to practice. In many contexts, the same thing will come. Conquering desire, fear, and anger. Yasada mukta evasa. Such a person who practices these things, he is liberated. Sada mukta is always liberated. See how many things we have to do. Major things I'll point out. Major things are controlling lust, anger, greed, and fear. and becoming less and less interested in outside sense objects and pleasures, becoming more interested in devotion to God. These things we have to do. Other things will come. And basic discipline, moral disciplines, truthfulness, purity, etc., that we already know, that we take for granted, we have doing those things. Ahimsa, Satya, Steya, all those things, not taking others' property, not hurting other people by thought, word, and deed, all those things, basic things that we already familiar, no need to repeat. And these things. Now the last verse, then I will go through the highlights of this chapter 5. Bhoktaram yajñatapasam sarvalokamaheshwaram suhridam sahridam sarvabhutanam jnatva mam shanti mrichati. Who achieves liberation? Yajñatapasam bhoktaram, the Lord, Supreme Lord, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, is the Lord of all the worlds. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the Lord of all the worlds, whole universe. God is the Lord. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, and He is the recipient of all yajnas and all pujas. Whatever kind of puja we do, whatever japa meditation we do, whatever spiritual practice we do, it's all directed towards Him only. We may choose any form we like. We may do Rama Japa or Krishna Japa or Shiva Japa or Ramakrishna Japa. But all these are directed to the Supreme Lord through all these forms. They are all His forms only. Yajna tapasam bhoktaram is the recipient of all yajna and tapas. Whatever people do, spiritual practice. Sarvabhutanam suhridam is the friend of all beings. God is the friend of all the beings. People have their friends and some who are not their friends. It's not like that with Him. He is the friend of all beings. He is always interested in the well-being of all the beings, not only people, animals, plants also. He is interested. Sudam sarvabhutanam tam jnatva, mam jnatva, knowing me. Bhagavan is speaking. Mam means me. Knowing me, what happens to a person? Shantim richati, achieves peace. The word Shanti has a different meaning here in this context. Ordinarily, Shanti means peace. No problem is bothering us. Children are doing okay in school and the job is all right. My financial problem is, situation is satisfactory. Everything is okay. Whether my health is good. Shanti. But that kind of Shanti is very unsteady. One of these things will change in a moment and the Shanti will go. That's not real peace. Real peace comes from knowing the divine presence within us. A real peace is really liberation. Shankaracharya translates moksha, Shanti as moksha. In several places, the word Shanti comes in the Gita. In many places, he says Shanti means moksha, ultimate liberation. Here, in this shloka 29, Shankara translates the word Shanti in this way. I'm reading the translation. It's very simple. I'll translate also. Shanti here means Sarva Samsara Uparatim. Samsara means the chakra, life and death cycle. We are born many times before. In every lifetime we enjoyed, we suffered. Now we are, same thing is happening, and afterwards we may be born again. Both of the same cycle. That transmigration, samsara chakra, that we are caught in it. If you want to escape from it, that is liberation. Liberation means samsara uparatim. Samsara uparatim. Freedom from the cycle of birth and death. That is meaning of Shanti in this shloka. So who will get this kind of Shanti? The previous 3-4 verses. Those who control their minds, control their sense organs, control their buddhi, and practice various spiritual practices. Do not become upset when things go wrong. Na prashriyat priyam prapya. Do not become too much exalted when things go right. And controlling desire, uh, fear, and anger. So all these qualities are necessary. We have to practice these qualities in our own way. We cannot do everything 100%. That is, we don't should not be disappointed. All of us cannot do everything 100%. We, in our own way, according to our ability, we have to practice with diligence, with love, with great love. We should practice. So that is the end of that chapter 5. Now, what I want to do is to point out a few slokas in chapter 5, which are, I think, key slokas. You have to pay attention, special attention to these slokas. Other slokas also you can study. So, first of all, the second verse in chapter 5. Karma sanyasat karma yogo vishishyate. There are two ways, two lifestyles, pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti marga, nivritti marga. We talked about that before. Pravritti marga means the path of engagement in worldly duties and performing the worldly duties and living in the world. Nivritti marga means withdrawing from the world and receding into a separate domain. For like people used to go to forests in the earlier ages, vanaprastha they used to call. Withdrawing from society, from family life, from job and everything, and receding into seclusion and practicing spiritual practice there exclusively. Nivritti marga. Now, Bhagavan Sri Krishna very clearly says here, karma sanyasat karma yoga vishishyate. Karma yoga means engaging in action, pravritti marga. Where will you go? Living the world. We all have to live. Even if you take sannyasa, you have to live in the world. Which some other world can we go to? Sannyasis also have to live in the world. Very few, very small number of people can really withdraw totally from society. Very difficult to do that one. I met one Swamiji, Ramshna Mission Swamiji, many years ago. We were talking about this topic. Then we were talking about the same thing. Then I asked him, Maharaj, have you practiced karma sannyasa? He said, yes, for a short time. He was head of a center there. And he said for 4 months, he went into seclusion. During those 4 months, and he did not, he was in a separate kutir. He didn't live in the ashrama. Separate kutias are there in North India, Uttarakhand, in Uttarakashi, that area. He went to one of those kutis. There is nothing there. You have to stand in line for bhiksha if you want food. Kali Kamliwala Trust has these bhiksha places where they go and stand in line with a what do you call a pot, lota, or tiffin carrier. When you go to the window, one man from inside window throws some dal into your container and puts 4 chapatis in your hand and you have to move forward. That's the whole food for the whole day. Like that, difficulty. On the rest of the day, you have to spend living, practicing meditation. Very difficult. I did it for some time. Then there is another lifestyle. This is called Bhiksha Vritti, asking for Bhiksha. Another lifestyle is Ajagara Vritti. Ajagara means a python. A python doesn't look for food, simply stays in one place. Whatever comes nearby, small animal, it will catch and eat it. So like that, he stayed for some time. That's Swamiji. He said, for a few days, I didn't even go for Bhiksha. What happens when you become hungry? Unless food comes, I won't ask anyone. For a few days, he did that one. Some people would come and sitting, or Swami sitting there, they would give some food. So like that. But that is not practical. How long can we do? How many can do that one? Better than that is to live in the society, be involved in society. As Swami Vivekananda is the strong proponent of this idea. Where will you go? Seeking God. God is right here. God is the person sitting next to you is God. Where will you seek God? In the heavens? The person sitting next to you in your family, in your workplace, wherever, they're all God. Who else is there? Only He is there. See God in the people around you, in the things around you, in the animals around you, in the suffering people around you. Daridra Devo Bhava, Daridra Narayana Devo Bhava. That is the path of involvement, Pravritti Marga, that Swamiji strongly recommended. That is practical and doable. So that is sloka number 2. Then in sloka number 8 and 9, the Jnani's attitude towards work. The Jnani says 8 and 9, Naiva Kenchit Karomiti, that those 2 slokas. Jnani has no sense of doership. Kartapan nahi hai Jnani ko. Jnani does not have notion that I am the doer. We all have Kartapan. I have feeling that I am speaking, I am eating, I am walking, I am doing some work that I have, that feeling I have. But Jnanis don't have that one. Still they are doing all kind of activities. How will they explain that one? They're active, but they say they're not doing anything. Naiva Kenchit Karomi. So if you ask the Jnani, sir, you are doing all these activities, how can you say you are not doing anything? The Jnani explains like this. Last line of sloka number 9. Second line of sloka number 9. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante iti dharayan. Indriyani means sense organs, 5 or 10. Indriyartha means sense object. They interact. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante. And action takes place. I'm neither the sense organ nor the sense object. So I'm not involved in action. Jnani can only say that one. Because Jnani thinks he is not the body and the mind, is not the sense organ, he is the Atman. Only those who can have the conviction they are the Atman, not the body and the mind, they can get away with that one. We cannot. It's not for us. So that is only to know. No doership for Jnanis. Then in slokas 10, 11, 12, 13, 10, 11, 12, 13, the main point is whatever action we do, we have to dedicate it to God. Everything we do, including eating, sleeping, talking, walking, vacuuming the floor, taking care of children, cooking, cleaning, office work. If you are a doctor treating patients, if you are a patient getting treatment, if you are a teacher teaching the students, whatever work we do must be done as an offering to God. That came in 3rd chapter, sloka number 30, 330. Don't forget that one, 330. Maya sarvani karmani sanyasya. Like that, these 4 slokas, 10, 11, 12, 13, they emphasize dedicating everything to God, doing everything as an offering to God. Offering means do it nicely. If you're giving something to somebody, it should be a nice thing. Now, especially sloka number 11, the last part of it, sloka number 11. There, what is the purpose of doing this? Why we should dedicate all our actions to God? Does God need our actions? No. Then why should we give the actions to God? Because by giving something, we become free from attachment to that something. For us to become free from attachment to karma, karma phala, we have to dedicate every karma to God. That is explained in the last part of 5:11. Sangyam Atyaktva Atmashuddhaye. Atmashuddhaye karma karoti. Karmani kurvanti. For purification of mind. Purification of mind, Atmashuddhi means purification of mind. That means becoming free from attachment to karma, karma phala, becoming free from desire, etc. Desire, attachment, etc. Selfishness, etc. That's the reason why we have to do all work. That means, this is the important point. Every work that we do, without exception, must be seen as an opportunity for purifying the mind. Once the mind becomes free from impurities such as attachment, anger, jealousy, desire, etc., next step is God realization. Purity of mind, next step is God realization. Why? Because the only obstruction to God realization this moment is impurity of the mind. Our mind is the shield. God is present within us. I'm not able to see, experience His presence. Why? Because mind is full of impure impressions. How do I become free from the impure impressions? By doing all work as worship, as offering, dedication, free from attachment, desire, anger, jealousy. Vigatecha bhaya krodha. And work is the opportunity. Every work is an opportunity to move towards God, spiritual progress. So work should be done with love, joyfully, and with gratitude. Even you do a small thing like keeping a cup on the table or anything, that should be done gently, nicely, seeing divine presence in everything. That will come if you practice a little bit. You will see yourself, your mind becomes transformed. I can tell you that. You practice it for a few days. Everything you do, think that you are doing it for your Ishtadevata, for Sri Ram Krishna, whom you are worshipping. Think that you are doing it for him as a service. It may be a very small thing. If you keep thinking like that, your mindset will change very quickly. It won't take much time, I can tell you that. Atma Shuddhaye Karmani Kurvanti. All work should be seen as an opportunity for purification of the mind. Once mind is purified, next step is vision of God, realization of God. So 511. Then we go to 518. Vidyavane Sampanne ki shloka. What does it say? Samadarshitvam, equanimity. Treat everybody alike, seeing God's presence in everybody. Vidyavinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Sunichaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. Everybody, including animals and plants. Vidyavane Sampanne Brahmana, the highest human being, endowed with full knowledge and humility. If a person has partial knowledge, he will be proud. Oh, I know so many things. Person has full knowledge will be humble. Such a person, one extreme, one end of the spectrum. Other end of the spectrum, Swapaka, person born in, not his fault. We should not blame such people. We should be compassionate because they're born under those circumstances. They have no opportunity for education, not only education, no food to eat. What kind of education will they, how will they learn all this Vedanta? Vedanta will come much later. First, hungry stomach must be given food. They won't have that. Such people, they somehow subsist eating something. So, you should not blame them. You should be compassionate and try to help them. And in between, Gavi, Hastini, Shuni, animals will also come. Go means cow, sattvic animal. Hastini, elephant, Rajasic animal. Shuni, tamasic animal, dog. They represent different points on the spectrum. Everything in creation, we must see the divine presence and be compassionate and gentle towards it. Inanimate objects included. Remember Holy Mother's instruction to that lady in her household who threw away the broom carelessly after sweeping the floor. Inanimate object, because they can't complain. Keep the things gently. If you practice it for a few days, it will become, you will enjoy, you will begin to enjoy that one. So Samadarshitva 518. But in practicing it, you have to be careful. If there are wicked people, you should not try to get too close to them and say, God is in you, like that won't work. From a distance, you tell them, I bow down to you, but I stay away from you because right now you are not in such a position to see God in everything. After some time, when you change. Remember the Sri Ramakrishna's gospel of the wild elephant. Stay away from wild elephant. In it also God is there, but from a distance. Do namaskar. 518 Samadarshitva will come again in 6th chapter. And then 520 is another important shloka. It is equanimity under all circumstances. That came earlier also, in earlier chapters. Sukha, dukkha, everything comes and goes in a cyclic fashion. Today happiness, tomorrow unhappiness. That is a cycle. Nobody can escape that one. Very rich people, strong people, kings, everybody have to go through cycle of good and bad in their lives. So what we should do, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, under all circumstances, sukha or dukkha, you remain calm. Na praharshyet priyam prapya. Priya means something pleasant. Priyam prapya, if you got something pleasant, something good happens, good news comes, na praharshyet. We should not become too much elated and assume it will be like that forever. Next moment things may change. When success comes. Apriyam prapya na udvijet. Apriya means something unpleasant happens. Any kind of problem can come. And then now udvijet, you should not become too much perturbed. Try to take it in stride, do what is necessary. Three things are to be done. Remember those three things I mentioned before. Before unpleasant things happen, we have to take preventive measures. One thing. Before something happens, foreseeing problems, try to prevent them as much as possible. You can't prevent everything, but as much as possible. Second, first thing, preventive measures. For example, to offset health problems, preventive measures are following rules of health: eating properly, good diet, good quantity, good time and sleep, rest, relaxation, exercise. All these rules, we know that it's all preventive measures so that we don't become sick. In spite of taking preventive measures, problem will come. Then when the problem comes, second thing we have to do is to take available remedial measures. Whatever remedy is available, we have to take, depending on the nature of problem. You can take help of other people, plumber, electrician, professional people, all those people, friends, doctors for medical help. All those people we have to approach, take whatever remedial measures are necessary, possible, to the extent possible. Then problem may go or may persist or new problem may come. Third thing we have to do is, after exhausting all preventive and remedial measures, whatever problem remains, we have to bear in practice titiksha, forbearance. Practice titiksha, third step. When doing all these things, we should remain calm, not be upset too much. A little bit unhappiness will be there. Where human beings, we have emotions. I can't say we should be free from emotions. Not possible. We cry, we laugh. When I saw Swami Siddhanandaji's funeral last week, I cried. I know death is inevitable. He was suffering sick for a long time. It would have been more suffering if he had continued. But still, we have sorrow, sadness will come. Sri Ramakrishna cried when somebody died. So it is common, but under control. It's okay. Accept. Accept eventually. This is inevitable. We have to accept it. So practice forbearance without lamentation, without complaining. Chinta vilaparahitam. Without complaining, without brooding, without lamentation. That is titiksha. So that is how we maintain equanimity. So that is 520. Maintaining equanimity under all circumstances. Now we go for 5, 21, 22, 24. There, where do we look for happiness? Not in the outside world, in the self within, in the divine presence within. That's the only place where you can find unlimited, unconditional, eternal happiness, regardless of body condition or anything. The body may be sick, there may be no money, there may be other problems, but person who is anchored, whose mind is in the self, remains joyful. That's where true joy has to be found. If you try to look for happiness in the outside world, in success, in family, in pleasure, in property, in position, in all those things, they will not give true happiness. For some time, they will give some happiness. then a lot of problems will come. That we saw in 522. 522 is a key shloka. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Samsparshaja bhoga means pleasures coming from outside sense objects. Sense object can be another person also. If you depend upon somebody else to make you happy, it will work for some time, then it may not work for all the time. For fortunately, some people it works generally all life, but for some people, what starts out as a very joyful relationship turns into a very painful relationship, and a lot of things happen. There's no guarantee there. If happiness comes, accept it, be thankful, don't reject it, don't shun it. Be thankful, enjoy it, but be ready. Someday it may end. That separation will come sooner or later in anything. In our attachment to this, in possession of sense objects, property, house, money, position, fame, power, health, beauty, all those things are adyantavantaha, 522 says. They have beginning and an end. When the end comes, we become unhappy. When the beginning comes, when it comes, we are happy. When the end comes, we are unhappy. So we should be ready for separation. Anytime it will like that. In a personal note, if I can share with you, I did this once. I got a job in Philadelphia many years ago. And the dean, first day, took me to the office. This is your office. So I sat down there. I had a briefcase. Then I thought for myself, from today onward, this is my office. Before this, some other faculty was sitting here calling this his or her office. One day I have to leave this job. I'm not going to be here permanently. I'm going to leave this job sooner or later. I don't know when, but I will have to leave. Then somebody else will come and say this is his office. So I am not going to be attached to this office. This is only temporary place for me to come and work every day. It is not my office. Like my room in the Vedanta Center is not my room. I call it my room. That is the way to become free from attachment. It's not mine. Temporarily, it is mine. Sri Ramakrishna explains it nicely with the help of this parable of a maid servant working in a rich man's house in the city. She will call the master, sir, children, my Rama, my Hari, my garden, my kitchen. She will say, but she knows none of them belongs to her. We have to live in this world like the maid servant. We are only here temporarily. It is not our permanent place. This life is not a permanent place. It's only temporary digression. We have come here because we have desires to work out, and for some time, then we'll have to leave everything behind. Everything we have right now, which you call mine, we have to leave them behind and go away. We have to be ready for that separation. That is how we remain free from attachment to everything. Body also will have to give up one day. It will not be there with us. So that is how to practice equanimity and detachment. Then we go to 523, key shloka, last one in this chapter. Last key shloka, 523. Under all circumstances, we have to control our mind and remain free from kama, krodha, and lobha also. Shaknoti haiva yasodam praksharira vimokshanat. Right now here, prak means before, sharira means body, vimokshana means giving up. That means before death, not at some future time. Today, I must become free from kama, krodha. It's not something to be achieved in the future date, goal. Today, I want to become free. That sense of urgency is built into this. Prakshariri vimokshanat kama krodha udbhavam megam yaha sodam shaknoti. Sodam means to bear, to forbear. Shaknoti, one he is able to forbear the onslaught of Kama Krodha, Vega. They come in a with great force in a wave. Suddenly, no advance notice is given. Suddenly we become angry and we start saying things and doing things which may repent later. There's no advance notice. How suddenly it comes. Kama, Krodha, both of them. So one who is able to control the onslaught of Kama and Krodha, even here at the present moment, not in some at some future time, such a person is a happy person, Sasukhi. Otherwise, he'll always be controlled by anger and desire and we'll be unhappy. So 523, we should add Lobha also to that, though it's not as common. Kama Krodha are very difficult. In 16th chapter, we'll add the third one, Lobha. Lobha means greed. Many people have so much greed, they don't know when to stop. Fortunately, that is not a big problem for most of us, but we have to guard against that too. So let us now conclude chapter 7, just chapter 5. And this chapter 6, we will start from next week. Chapter 6 is called Dhyana Yoga, the chapter on meditation, Atma Samyama Yoga. There Sri Krishna gives mostly preparatory steps. In terms of technique, there is not much. Only 1 or 2, 3 shlokas are there in terms of technique. Mostly preparing the mind for meditation. 95% is preparation. 5% is actual meditation. Throughout the day, how we prepare the mind for meditation. Morning 1 hour, evening 1 hour, we keep aside. But for that 1 hour to work properly, we have to prepare the mind rest to the 23 hours. How to lead our lives, how to do our work, so that mind remains naturally calm. We sit down for meditation, meditation becomes natural. How to do that one, that's all in chapter 6. Very interesting topics are there. Now it's 3 o'clock, we don't want to start any new shloka. I will spend some time for questions now. Anybody having any doubts or comments, want to add something that I didn't say or didn't say properly? Anything?
Swamiji,
Ah.
One observation, am I right, that the chapter 3, 4, and 5,
yeah,
the focus is on Karma Yoga. Is that understanding correct?
Yeah. To some extent, 2 also at the end.
2 also, because 2 started with Jnana Yoga and then Karma Yoga.
See, Karma Yoga is the main point in Bhagavad Gita.
Karma Yoga.
Chapter also it will come, but 2 to 6 also Karma Yoga will come. Begins with Karma Yoga. 2 to 6 is all practical Yoga Shastra, how to lead our lives, how to do our work. 7th onwards to 12th shloka, topic is not that much karma, but more about the nature of God, reality. It will change, emphasis will change.
Okay. Thank you.
6 is all emphasis on practical aspects of life, how to lead our daily lives, etc. You're right.
Thank you.
Swamiji? Swamiji, could you give an instance from the life of Thakur or the direct disciples on how a devotee deals with a bhakta deals with sorrow or happiness?
How the devotee deals with what? With unhappiness?
Good circumstances and bad circumstances.
In Sri Ramakrishna's life, many instances, Holy Mother's life, even more instances. So much suffering came in Holy Mother's life. So how she bore all those things, I don't know. But I'll tell two instances in Sri Ramakrishna's life. One day he was lying down somewhere in that Dakshineshwar area, half conscious, Sri Ramakrishna, not fully aware, not aware of the world, he is absorbed in God consciousness. There was another priest, his name is Chandra Haldar or something. That priest was also an employee of the that Dakshineshwar temple, Kali temple. That man was jealous of Sri Ramakrishna because Mathura Babu and everybody used to respect Sri Ramakrishna, devotees used to go to him, seek his advice. So that man, that other priest was very jealous of him. So he thought that Sri Ramakrishna is laying down here, pretending to be in Samadhi, really is not in Samadhi. So what that man did, he kicked Sri Ramakrishna on the back several times. And it really hurt him. It left bruise marks on Sri Ramakrishna's body. Sri Ramakrishna simply kept quiet. He knew what happened, but he didn't say anything. For a long time, he didn't tell about this to anybody, import it. After some time, somehow it came to light, and people asked him, why didn't you tell Mathura Babu, owner of the temple? He would have taken care of him. Yes, that's why I didn't tell him. If I told him, he would have dismissed him right away as a family man. I didn't want to bother him. In the meantime, what happened? That man did some other mistake and he was allowed to go. Forbearance. Second instance is this Hriday, Sri Ramakrishna's nephew, he made some mistake. And he worshipped Trailokya's daughter as Kumari. Which should not have been done. It's improper. And that father was Mathur's son-in-law. He became very upset and ordered Hriday to leave the premises right away. But the man who carried the message to Hriday gave the message to Sri Ramakrishna. You have to leave the place right away, he said to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna didn't ask any question. Why should I leave? I did not do anything. No. He took his towel and put it on his shoulder and walked away towards the gate. No questions. I have to leave. I will leave. Total detachment. I've lived in this room for so long. I have known no. I want to leave. Took the towel and walked away. Then immediately that person realized the mistake. The message was given to the wrong person. So he went back and told Sri Ram, sir, you are not supposed to go. The message was given to the wrong person. You are not supposed. Oh, do you have to come back? Came back and said, no questions asked. Total data. I have to leave. I will leave this moment. Why should I leave? No such question. Total detachment. So many instances in Holy Mother's life. Every day, Holy Mother's life had to face some problem with all the relatives with whom she lived, nieces and everybody, brothers. Their lives are full of such instances of practicing equanimity under all circumstances. Anything else? This book, Swami Chaitananda's book, Sharda Devi and her Divine Play, is a fantastic book. It is, if you read that book, it's such a transforming experience, I tell you. I'm reading that book now. Very good.
Yeah, I'm reading that book now.
Yeah, very
it is beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, it such a transformation comes by reading that book. I find it so inspiring. A very nice book.
I feel that all men, husbands should read that.
Everybody, men, women, children should read.
No, I'm saying as a man.
Hello, Swamiji, Bachubhai. Manju and I both have read the book.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice, Bachubhai. Very good. Yeah.
What's the name of the book again? Sorry.
Sri Sharda Devi under Divine Play.
By Swami Chaitanananda ji.
Yeah, Swami Chaitanya.
Thank you.
It's a fat book, 700 pages.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
Swami,
beautiful.
Swamiji, I have a question.
Ah.
Okay, the question is about this Kumari Puja. So Hidayat did this Kumari Puja and he was told to leave. But
Yeah.
Kumari Puja is practiced regularly
Yeah.
in or all this. So what is the difference?
Belur Math they do,
Yes,
they invite a small child,
right.
7-year-old girl, and they puja proper, all the 16 after. That is proper. What Hriday did was, without telling anybody, without getting any permission from the parents, which we should have taken permission, and in secret he did the puja.
Yeah.
That girl also did not know.
Yeah.
And after the puja, what happened was, Hriday had put some sandal paste and everything. And the girl went to her mother, and the mother asked, "Where did you get this sandal paste?" Then she said, "This uncle did puja to me." Then the parents of the girl became very angry, and they asked him to do improper. You should do it properly with permission, in the proper way, not somebody's child without permission. You should not.
Now, Swamiji used to do a lot, and he used to always talk to the parents before he did that. I mean, Swami Vivekananda.
Before he did what?
Swamiji used to do a lot of Kumari Puja, as I was reading or finding out. And so he used to do it very often, apparently.
Oh, I don't know. Yes, definitely you should take permission from the parents. If you are worshipping a small child,
Yeah.
and even do anything to a child without permission. No, child is to be protected. So that's improper. Very good. Anything else? Shall we close now?
Thank you.
Everybody stay well. And some places there are a lot of winter weather. We are having relatively good weather here in Maryland. Not so. We got some snowfall, but not. So let us say the closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from diseases and other problems. May all have harmony with each other, no ill will, no hatred towards each other. May no one be subject to misery of any kind. This is our prayer. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all the beings, no hatred, no ill will. Adi Bhautika Shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. All of you be happy and well, stay well, and see you next week, God willing.